Hi, welcome to Singletrack Session number 126, part of the TrailManners podcast. We've got a little different show for you today. We've talked about it just within the past month, so just a little bit of pressure for our guest host on the Singletrack Session. I don't think we've ever had a guest host on the Singletrack Session. And depending on how today goes, we'll see if we ever have one going forward. So a little bit of pressure.
Hopefully I don't ruin it for anybody going forward. We wouldn't want that.
So we've got Preston Wood. He's going to be joining us for a single track. It's just going to be how we normally do it. He's just going to throw another voice in, and he's got some things to go across to. So thanks for coming out and being our first, I think, ever guest host on Singletrack. I'm pretty sure.
Well, that's quite the honor.
But it's been a few years.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah,
my palms are sweaty. Hopefully I don't throw up or something.
Or drop the mics.
Yeah.
We'll jump into it here. We got a few things going first. Gunner, he was 4. He turned 4 on Sunday. So those that didn't see that and didn't hear about it last week, you get to hear about it again because he is my buddy. So Gunner was there. And also, something I've talked about for quite a long time on the show, I have done yoga.
Finally got her done.
In my apartment.
Okay. Well, that's pretty close to the front.
It is. So there's a TrailManners listener out there, and I got an email saying, hey, we could do it like virtually. Like, here's a link. You can do whatever you do. There's a whole bunch of like classes you can do. And so they're like, you can do one, and then every Sunday we'll email and see how it goes.
Okay.
You know, they're more... I think her name, it's Kate. I won't say the rest of the name just in case. But anyway, so she's done yoga before, but she's like, after having kids and doing everything, she's like, I don't want to go back. I'm not back into the yoga scene yet, so maybe we can hold each other accountable. I'm like, all right, that helps. So I've done 2 different courses online, and the first one, I just went and they have like a search box, and I did beginner for runners, and it pulled up one thing, and it was all about like knees and quads and ankles and calves.
Yeah.
It was only 10 minutes long, but it wore me out pretty quick.
Well, yeah. I mean, you've already surpassed my vast knowledge of yoga, which is none.
It was brutal. And then I did another one that was like totally beginner from the ground up, and, it was okay. Just trying to grasp it. But I have done yoga twice now.
Well, that's awesome. You even sounds like you got a coach, basically.
Yeah, that's
holding you accountable.
Yeah, and
it's great.
I think the worst part about it is it's like I don't like being judged, right, in a classroom setting. So I'm like, oh, this is cool. I look over and my dog's just giving me these weird looks the whole time. He's judging the crap out of me.
What in the world is going on?
So when I do my next one, I'm going to lock him in the bedroom, and I'm going to be like, you're in timeout until I'm done. Because it's pretty embarrassing.
Well, next step is across the street then, right?
That's going to take some time.
Hey,
I realized even more how not flexible I am. When I was doing some of the poses, like my feet would fall asleep. Just these weird things. I'm like, I'm sure that's not supposed to happen.
That hasn't been moved like that in a while.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, your ankle bends that way. Right on. So, yeah, I've got some ways to go.
Hey, that's a big step, though.
Yeah, for me it is. It really is. We'll see. We'll see. But I have someone holding me accountable. There's so many to choose from on some downtime, which I have right now. So I know it's good. I know it's healthy. I know I should be doing it. But doing something and knowing it is 2 different things.
Well, there you go. Now you just opened it up to all the listeners to give you more suggestions.
I know.
For people that actually know what they're doing.
And I'm going to pull up, let's see, I'm going to grab the website just so people can, maybe there's someone else out there. It's called, it's doyogawithme.com. It's free, right? So it's just you go and click and you can break it down into how long you want it, if you're a beginner, if you're an expert, which I don't know how many of those are out there, and then length, right? So you can kind of cater it to, to what you're doing. It's got difficulty, beginner, intermediate, advanced, length, all the way up to 60-plus minutes. Style, there's a ton of styles, and even teachers. There's a whole bunch of different teachers on here. So if you
can
find
people
someone,
do yoga for 60 minutes? That's a long time.
So, yeah, the timeline is like 0 to 20, 21 to 40, 41 to 60, and 60-plus.
Wow.
So I know they have like hour-long yoga classes, and I know they do it like in that Bikram or Bikram where it's really hot.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine 60 minutes and just being hot for 60
minutes. Go to the Vasa sauna, do some hot yoga in there, fit right in.
Some downward. I always say downward dog because that's the only one I know. Tree pose is one, I guess.
I couldn't tell you a single pose.
Maybe
I
that's
probably need to work on it.
Maybe that's what I'll start doing every week, is announcing a new pose.
That you did? I like that.
Just say, hey, I did this one.
You can use the podcast to hold you accountable as well.
I do. What I've been focused on lately is the sleeping man pose.
I've been working on the eating man pose.
Yeah, I've done come to me. I've mastered that one, man. I'm the master of that one. Anyway, doyogawithme.com is a pretty cool resource for those that want to do yoga at home, I guess. Maybe there's more websites out there, but this one works for me. So
perfect.
And thanks, Kate, for getting me off that lump there. So next up, this weekend I was just talking to you about it. I have my first soccer tournament as a coach. So I've been coaching. I picked it up in October. We have a tournament down in St. George. It's been super fun to train these kids since October, but now I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Now
I can imagine.
The pressure's on now.
You're living my dream though. Oh. I don't know if you knew that. I coached high school football for 5 years.
Nice.
And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a high school football coach, and then I realized there was $0 in that, as much as I love kids and helping kids. And so I know what you're feeling.
Yep.
It's a big deal. You want them to do so well, and I'm sure they will.
And I'm nervous, like from the parent standpoint. Like it's like, oh, this guy, they come to practice now and then. That's different. But now if we play games and we don't do well, like what did the kids learn from this cat?
How many soccer coaches hold a world record in soccer?
I know a few just because they were my teammates.
There you go. But not many in Utah.
No. But I was the same as you because I coached high school soccer for 4 years. Mm-hmm. But I absolutely broke it down to, and I did this, I broke it down to how much I get paid per hour, but only when I was on the field.
Okay.
And anybody out there that's coached any sport, you're on the field, on the court, in the wherever, gym, whatever, in the pool, coaching, but then you go home.
Yeah.
Right? And you think about it, and you're coming up with schemes or plans or training sessions
Always.
or everything, right? So just on the field, the physically on the field, I was making 7 cents an hour when I coached high school.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. Like a head high school football coach spends countless hours, and they get like a $2,500 stipend.
Yeah, it's like, right on, thanks.
Yeah, my wife used to tease me. I'm kind of an offensive guy in football, and I'd be writing plays and drawing up plays against defenses like constantly, and she'd just laugh. I still have like notebooks and notebooks full of just junk.
That's how it is.
It's just lots of dedication, and so you want them to do well.
And they do. And these kids are so fun. They're under 13, so like 12, like 6th and 7th grade, mainly 6th graders.
Still really excited to be playing.
Yeah. And they're good kids. All of them are good kids. So it'll be interesting to see how well we do this weekend.
I'm sure it'll go well.
President's Day tournament. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And how would we be? This show launches on Thursday, February 14th. So I want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day, a happy Palnetines Day, and a happy GALentines Day. So we got them all, I hope.
Yeah.
Right? So if you have someone significant other, happy Valentine's Day. If you're a dude that doesn't, happy Palnetines Day. And if you're a lady that doesn't, happy GALentines Day.
All inclusive. All inclusive. Here at the TrailManners podcast.
That's right. And I'm going to buy me a big old fat juicy steak for Valentine's Day.
I think that sounds like a great idea.
I'm going to have to cook it here so I don't have to sit. Or that'd be kind of cool, huh? Get a reservation at a nice restaurant by myself.
Yeah.
And just have Valentine's dinner by myself. How cool would that be? Table for two, but I'm just here by myself.
Just by myself. Yeah. I'm just rolling solo.
Have a wine.
It's a power move for sure.
Yeah.
That's a power move.
Or if I even ordered 2 meals and then just sat on each chair. Right?
Talk to
yourself.
Yeah.
I'd be all over Instagram. And,
look at this guy.
Yeah, Facebook and all those little apps. So, but I hope everybody has a great time in this manufactured holiday that I call Valentine's Day. And did you see? Now we'll get into some running, all right? Because I think sometimes people want to hear about that.
I don't know.
Did you see the Orcas Islands 100 was canceled?
Yeah, I did see that. I didn't look into it too much. I was a little preoccupied this weekend.
Yeah, a little bit.
But, I heard that it canceled. I mean, how often does that happen where they cancel a race?
Well, and they had the one the weekend before,
yeah.
The shorter distances that they got it in right before the weather turned. And the Pacific Northwest has been getting slammed.
Yeah, I've been seeing they're calling it Snowmageddon up there.
Because they got snow.
Yeah. But like they got legitimate snow, not just like a
skiff
a
or something.
Yeah.
And so the Orcas Island, I mean, the wind came and blew trees down, 50, 60 mile an hour gusts. Snow was in the forecast. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of good race directors out there, but James Varner to me is still one of the best. And I know as a race director, that call to cancel a race, and I think about it too. It's like, okay, if we canceled a local race, if you're local, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about, this is a true destination race. I mean, I know there's a lot of Pacific Northwesters.
Well, there was a big group of people from our area that went up the weekend before to run the shorter distances.
So it's like you cancel it, and you got airfare, hotel, the fees, the training, and that's got to be hard.
Yeah.
But I will say that I saw nothing but, just, I don't know, good comments for them making the right call. And basically what it came down to is just safety.
Yeah.
And that's, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. But it's unfortunate it does get canceled, but I think they made the right call, especially after seeing, he kept showing pictures of the course where they had to go and like try the best they could to get it ready before they're like, there's no way.
Well, and just the damage that it would have done to the trail system probably wouldn't have been worth it. I mean, I don't think it's a huge 100. I think they have to limit the numbers because of where it's at. But I mean, that it still would have done some pretty big damage.
And even the camping areas weren't safe for people to stay there. So I mean, it was just it's just some food for thought when you think about, as a runner. I mean, I'm happy I've been on both sides of the coin, but I don't think sometimes people, and I think it's getting better now the more you talk to people, but they don't see sometimes what goes into putting on an event. And at the end of the day, it truly is about runner safety. I mean, we have a small races here, and it's always, okay, what's your emergency evacuation plan?
Yeah.
Thankfully for us, where it's like, well, just roll them down the hill, and then we'll go right across the street to the hospital. Yeah. But when you're on an island or,
what
back
do you do?
to the mountains on 100, you're in trouble.
Is help going to be able to get there, right, if there's a big storm? So you got to take a lot of things into consideration.
So hats off to James, though. I know that was probably a tough call, but hats off to him for making the right decision. And I can't imagine the anguish in the gut, feeling in the gut when you have to make that final decision.
Yeah.
And I'm going to not talk too much about this, but I'm going to leave it. I saw this, and I'm going to leave a link to it on our show notes. But there was Ultra Running Magazine posted this little article that somebody did on beer and run pairing guide. And they had some, some, I don't say rules, but they had some guidelines on how they did it. They did it in like a micro brews, and they kind of did it if you had a race in such and such an area, they would pull beers from that area. So
I saw that.
Yeah, so like runs, where your run is, the distance and things like that. It's pretty interesting.
Does it seem pretty sophisticated and detailed to you as a beer drinker?
So
I wouldn't know.
I don't know the people that wrote it, and I think anybody could do this, but I don't know. I think to me, I don't know. I think it's too broad.
Yeah.
There's so many beers out there and so many tastes. I mean, for example, recovery, run type, they had recovery. Beer pairing was Pilsner or Session. Then author's pick, and then honorable mentions.
Yeah.
So author's pick was IPA. Then you go into honorable mentions to Pilsner and IPA and probably a Session. And I'm like, okay, and then they kind of give you an idea why. Yeah. But I think you could make a case for anything.
So they didn't even pick like real specific beers?
No, they did. Yeah, they would come in like Go-To IPA, Scrimshaw, Prima Pilsner.
Yeah.
So they did have some ones that they called out in particular, but I don't know.
Worth a look, probably.
Okay, this is scary. I got my laptop in front of me. We're talking about beer. I just got a text just this second from Turtle Miller of a picture of beer. And it says, "Oh my God, Becky." That's what his comment. It's the Sea Quench Ale Session Sour. He took a picture of it and just sent it to me. So how funny is that from Dogfish?
So is your computer listening, or is Turtle listening through the computer? Like, what's going on here?
He's probably got like a virus in here.
For sure.
He's the one that keeps throwing me all these weird websites to look at, I'm sure, too. That's pretty crazy timing.
It is.
But anyway, I'll post the... I'm interested to see what people think. So if you want to make a comment on the Facebook post of this, I'm interested on this Ultra Running Magazine article on beer pairings and runs. I'm sure there was some science and some ideas that went into it, but for me, like, they got a 50K and the beer pairing's a brown ale or a nut brown, and I'm thinking, man, there's no way I'm going to finish a race and have for me, my taste.
Yeah.
And then a 50 mile, they've got a porter. So those are heavier.
Yeah, super heavy.
And I'm like, man, there's no way I could finish a 50 mile.
You'd want something light, right? Yeah.
Or something refreshing.
Yeah.
Right? And so a porter, those aren't refreshing to me. 100 mile, they have a stout. I guess that could go either way.
Is Bud Light on the list anywhere?
No, that's the funny thing. So they basically said, sorry, no Silver Bullets, PBRs, or mass-produced domestic
beers. Oh, come on.
So I mean, PBR is kind of the go-to.
It is
for
the
most
go-to.
people
It's probably the number one beer of trail runners.
Probably.
I mean, it's the one that I see the most at races.
And then this is what they did on this race-specific pairing. So they named a few races, some of the big ones, and whatever state it's in, then they would go to the author's pick for a beer. So Western states, the beer was Pliny the Elder. Again, from Russian River, and a beer drinker, you know which one Pliny is. Again, good beer, but definitely to me very overhyped. Hard Rock from Colorado. Theirs is an oak-aged Yeti Imperial Stout from Great Divide. I couldn't imagine trying to drink one of those after
Hard Rock.
And I've never run Hard Rock, but I'm just thinking, I'm watching
Could
runners
you
come
drink it
across.
during Soft Rock?
I couldn't even drink it while I was watching Hard Rock.
As
Utah.
long as you get it inside an aid station, though, right? No,
Right,
nothing
right.
outside of an aid station.
Yeah, they should have put an asterisk there. I think these are finish line beers.
Okay.
And then locally here, Wasatch in Utah, they had the Big Bad Baptist Imperial Stout from Epic, which is a good stout, but again, I'm thinking after 100, that would totally just light you up.
Yeah.
One of those big, powerful beers would just light you. You'd be finished like, yeah, it was awesome, and you'd be out cold or
Just
drooling on yourself and doing left turns nonstop or something, you know.
good. Yeah.
So anyway, I'll put a link to that because it's pretty interesting, and I tip my hat to the authors for putting that together because it is fun. And I guess realistically you could argue no matter whose taste it is because it's a taste thing. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
You talk about what would you eat after you finished a race.
Yeah.
It's like
Everybody's got a different idea,
And
and it's different every race.
yeah, because that's the thing is
Yeah.
I know I finished Wasatch the first year I did it. Man, they had sandwiches like they do
Yeah.
cold cuts, and I just was like, I need a McDonald's quarter pounder with
Yeah, you
cheese,
do.
and I don't eat those, but it sounded so good, so I ate it.
Yeah.
Second time I ran Wasatch, I'm like, I can't wait for that. Finished, I'm like, oh, that sounds disgusting.
Come on, Ronald is always a good choice.
Oh, I don't know if I could stomach something like that. All right, let's get into a little bit of running now. So we'll get into, there's a lot to talk about really this week, and we won't get too deep. We won't go too far down the rabbit hole on a lot of this, but I guess we'll lead off with a non-race thing. The Hornet was back at it again. We'll put a link to that because it's pretty interesting. Killian, last Friday, he went to do a record of the most vertical feet gained in 24 hours.
On skis.
On skis.
Yeah, on skis.
In Norway. So he averaged 3,208 feet per hour.
Wow.
Up and down 51 times to basically did 77,000 feet.
That's incredible.
And the quote that comes from this is, I don't know why I'm doing it, is what kind of came to his mind at one point during that. And you know what, Killian, I would say that right this second.
Yeah, I saw some pictures and some different things coming out from it, and he looked worse than probably any 100-miler I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know, he just looked hammered, and he really went for it. And, I mean, you got to give a guy a lot of props for doing something that's not a race just to do it, right? Like, hey, I'm going to challenge myself right now. I mean, that's a big undertaking.
And the record was 68,000, so we beat it by almost 10, right?
Put almost 10 grand on it.
And so Trail Runner put kind of what it's compared to. So it's compared to climbing Mount Everest 2.6 times from sea level in one day.
Yeah.
Right? That's ridiculous. Or, you know, for people that aren't familiar with Everest, I don't know who that would be, climbing to the top of the Empire State Building about 53 times in a day.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good day in the mountains.
I live on the 4th floor of this complex, which is the top, and I take the elevator once in a while.
Yeah, I think I would probably every time.
I've been really good at
4
taking
floors.
the stairs. Yeah,
That's a lot of stairs.
Yeah. Or for the trail runner world out there, it is the equivalent to sprinter vans on top of each other, then climbing, stacking 9,277 average sprinter vans on top of each other, then climbing in one day. So
I kind of lost track of the number because it was such a big number.
9,277 sprinters on top.
Bigger than my mind can
I don't know how
handle.
you'd get the top one on there.
Yeah,
that'd be harder. Once you get to that top one, that'd be hard to put it on.
They just wanted to throw sprinter vans in there.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Hashtag van life, just out of nowhere.
How many Volkswagen buses is that? It's got to be over 10. It's got to be over 10,000.
How many Priuses is that?
We just lost a list.
Yeah, sorry. No, I'm just saying. I was just throwing out a nice economical vehicle there.
Carbon footprint helper, you know?
There's nothing. I was sorry. I was not taking a jab at Prius owners.
No,
I was just saying
I think Priuses are cool.
I
still do. They're quiet, though. They scare me. All right, so let's get into some other running news. So why don't you lead us off with RUFA, since I only volunteered from 4 a.m. to about 9 a.m., and you ran the race.
Yeah, it was good to see you there. It's always nice to see familiar faces at races, and this one was full of them for me. And so for those that don't know, RUFA is they've talked about it several times on the podcast. RUFA is an acronym for Running Up for Air. It's a fundraiser for Breathe Utah. That Jared Campbell organized originally on Grandeur Peak in Salt Lake, and this year was the first year on Maylands here in Ogden. So the same day, there was several hundred people going up and down either Grandeur Peak or Maylands Peak here in Ogden as many times as possible, and it's pretty hard. So it was an awesome day here in Ogden. We had great conditions. Trails were perfect. We got snowed on for 2 or 3 hours, but nothing too bad. There was a couple real notable performances for me. First of all, in the 6 hour, Mike Ambrose here, Solomon Mike Ambrose, works for Solomon here locally. He did 5 laps in the 6 hour race.
That's pretty stout.
5 laps. So we're talking the round trip's about 6 miles with about 2,300 feet. He did that 5 times in less than 6 hours. So it ended up being a 50K with almost 12,000 feet of vertical gain. He just hammered, and it was inspiring. In the 12-hour race, Gabe Joyce, inventor of trail running, he put together a pretty good day with 8 laps, and Carrie Niederhauser, I think I'm saying that right here, she's from here in Utah, did 7 for the women. Those were the top performances. And then here's the biggest performance ever probably at RUFA. And I'm biased because this guy is my homie. But Ian Ferris from Draper, Utah, did 15 laps on Maylands. 15.
That's crazy.
That's about 90 miles and 36,000 feet of vert in less than 24 hours. He did it in 10 minutes less than 24 hours. I would like to put a challenge out there that if anybody thinks they can do more than 15, good luck.
You'll buy him a Prius.
I would. I'd at least buy him Ronald's. I'd buy him McDonald's for a week. It was impressive, and even more impressive is Jose Cruz, from there. He did 14. And then on the women's side, Sylvia Greer, always she can just crush, did 11 laps. And then down in Salt Lake, they had a little bit rougher conditions, I think. Not near as nice. Joe Grant, who ran away from Ogden for some reason, maybe he heard Ian was going to do 15 and decided to go down to Salt Lake. But Joe Grant did 10, and Chris Natalie on the women's side also did 10. Or no, not on the women's side. He did 10 as well, just in a lot longer of a time than Joe. And then Katie Brown did 9, and Shalise Morgan did 8 in the 24-hour. In the 12-hour, Jimmy Elam pulled off 7, and Luke Nelson did 6, a friend of the show. And, yeah, those are just some of the numbers that I have here written down. I don't know if you had anything else to add. I just kind of got a little long-winded there.
No, it was fun to volunteer. I think the highlight of the day for me is we put up a big tent at like 4 a.m., and I think it was probably close to 5:30, and I'm standing there. I did the runner check-in for the people that didn't pick their bibs up yet. I'm standing there. It's dark. Some guy comes walking from a car. He's walking over towards me, and I'm like, okay, cool. And he stops right in front of me, literally like 5 feet, right in front of me, makes eye contact, and starts zipping up putting a jacket on. So I'm looking at him like, I don't know really what to say. It's dark. I just looked at this person and I said, pretty cold this morning, because it was really cold. And he's like, yeah, it is. Another awkward moment of silence, and they walked off. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Like there's a lot of people, so I didn't know who it was. About 15 minutes later, I walk over to the tent where the aid station was and the clock and everything. I think it was after the race, the 12-hour started. And I looked over, and it was Joel.
Yeah. No, I
looked at Joel. I'm like, that was you that stood in front of me? He's like, yeah. I'm like, why don't you say something? I'm like, I did not recognize. He shaved his whole face.
Yeah.
He had his glasses on.
I'll defend you, because the same thing happened to me. I walk in, and we got there like 5 minutes before, and I'm hurrying and trying to throw my spikes on, and Joel comes up and says something to me, and I was like, do I know you? And because he had a big coat on, and his face was barely showing. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, Joel. I felt kind of bad too, but he was incognito. He was
totally
in disguise.
Yeah. And I felt because I was so uncomfortable, because I'm not good at meeting people. And so I just know there's this guy standing in front of me, and I'm like, man, I try in my head, okay, small talk. I got none. You know, and
how about that weather?
Yeah, so that's what I'm like, it's pretty cold, huh?
Yeah.
Because it was. He's like, yep, and he walked, a couple more awkward moments and walks off. But I kind of blame Joel too because he didn't say anything to me either, and he knew it was me.
Yeah,
because I'm more recognizable.
He must have just thought you were having a tough morning or something.
I don't know, maybe, and we had a good kick out of it over there. And then someone else, Amy, another friend of the show, she comes over and she goes, "Oh my gosh, Joel, I didn't recognize you." And Joel's like, "Oh yeah," and she goes, "Oh hey Aric, it's me, it's Amy." I'm like, "Yeah, I recognize you by your face." And everybody started laughing, and I'm like, "No, that's what I'm going to use going forward." It's like, "Yeah, I recognize you by your face,"
Yeah.
Like, I just couldn't tell Joel, but anyway, it was a great time, and hats off to Tara and Sherilyn here in Ogden for putting that one on because I know
it was perfect.
Again, that race directing side but not to that level of detail of all these different races starting these different times. And then the volunteers, awesome. I know I was there when they hiked a tent up to the top for the aid station.
It wasn't just a tent. It was like a castle.
Yeah, but the wind was blowing so hard they couldn't get it set up in the morning.
Yeah.
They're just up there freezing. It was minus degrees with the wind up there.
It was cold.
But, hats off to everybody. I think it was like over $30,000 raised between that and the climbing the next day. So
yeah, it was a great event, and here locally it was ran great, and I'm sure in Salt Lake it always goes off great. It's an incredible event, and thanks to all the volunteers that were out there freezing because it was not. Dude,
it was not warm, and I don't get cold, and I was cold.
I think it was
around.
17 at the base when we started. And so it was freezing.
Yeah, we were putting up the big old canopy with all these poles and metal on your hands, and then you take your gloves off, and then you put them back on, and it was cold, but it was a good time. Unfortunately, I was going to come back and run at soccer practice, and then I'm trying to get my home sold, and that kind of took over the rest of the day, so that's why I wasn't able to make it back.
You just didn't want to make Mike feel bad when you did 6 laps in 6 hours.
Well, he's moving to France.
Yeah, you wanted to let him have that win before he leaves.
He's going away, President.
Yeah, just take it, Mike.
Take it, Ambrose. I mean, because if I'm in, I'm in. I'll go full bore. I mean, I would have got a solid lap and a half out. I'd probably still be at top of Maitland's waiting to come down 4 days later.
They had a sled up there.
Well, I would have been up there sledding. I'd have been that guy.
Yeah, right? I wanted to be that guy. I'll tell you what.
All right, so what else we had? The other big one over the weekend that we talked about a little bit with, I wouldn't say surprises that we talked too much about, but the Tarawera Ultramarathon in New Zealand had some big names at the race.
Yes, it did.
And it was kind of fun to see a little bit in the 160K, which is a 100-mile.
Yeah,
but it's New Zealand, so they do the Ks instead of the miles.
Yeah, they even called it the miler. They were calling it the miler on their Twitter feed. So for the 100-miler, even though it's 168K or whatever it was.
But the winner was Jeff Browning, just still crushing things, man. And I'll tell you what, he's been working out without or posting pictures without a shirt on.
Yes, he was.
He's
a young man.
He is.
He's a young 48.
Man. He's looking good, but Jeff came away with the win in 16:18, which is he won he won that. Second place for the men was Grant Guys, 19:24. Third place was Akio Uno. I'm not gonna say Uno because there's an E there in 19:51, but they duked it out for a while.
Yeah.
First and second. Camille Herron was leading the charge, and she finished second overall.
Yeah.
First female in 17:20. Katie Wright was second female, 23, so about a little over 6 hours behind.
Just a little behind Camille.
And Leslie Park, 24. So, and even the men's side, Jeff Browning, he had over 3 hours on second place men.
Yeah, and I think both those were course records. Jeff Browning and Camille's time were both course records.
Yeah, and I think what they talked about is that the course used, and again, all the races are getting this way, but now there's a new course or a new start.
They had to reroute it or something.
Reroute it. So
yeah.
But that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. From what I saw, it looked like Jeff and Grant maybe took a wrong turn early and were chasing all day. But Camille is just a rock star, total rock star. So
she's coming off, and 2 weeks before, she wrecked her car, got flipped upside down, and everything else. So
she doesn't care.
No, she's
awesome. Just going to go out and win, go out and crush.
And then the other one we'll talk about is the 102K, which is not 100 miles. It's 102K. That one, the overall winner on the male side was Reese Edwards in 8:22. Cody Reed took second in 8:29, and Harry Jones. That's one of my new favorite names again. I have a few. Patty O'Leary is my favorite all-time name. I think Harry Jones is going to be he's number 2. He finished in 8:30. On the women's side, Another familiar name, Courtney DeWalter.
Who's she? Does she ever win?
She's ran a few times.
Yeah.
I think she's kind of new. She ran in 9:28 for the women. Stephanie Austin 9:49, and another name finished third in 10:39.
Angtlique.
Angtlique is the first name. So let's try that. Angtlique. And the last name is Plaire. And I'm never trying to mispronounce names, so I'm way off, and that's not on purpose. I'll let you know if it's on purpose. But yeah, a couple of those. That race just looks super cool.
It does.
Like the photos with Jeff, with the natives there, doing
doing the haka
dance.
Yeah.
How cool would that be?
It'd be way cool. Man. It looked awesome. And then of note, too, is Courtney DeWalter also was 9th overall, so top 10 overall. Just crushing.
It's going to be a big.
I just hope that they can that Camille and Courtney can stay healthy, and at some point this year give us a showdown.
That'd be fun.
I think it'd be awesome at like Big's backyard to see both of them just go and go and go.
What if someone needs to do just an invitational race where the top 10. That's what. Okay, here's the new race that TrailManners is not putting on. It's the Ultra Runner of the Year voting race. So the top 10 men and the top 10 females will race, and that the voting comes out in say January, so it'll be a March race.
Yeah.
And somebody will do it, and it's all expenses are paid for the runners, right, to do this race. It'll be a 100K.
What kind of course would they do it on?
It's going to be a 100K similar to, I don't know, let's say 18 to 20,000 feet of vert.
Okay,
so 100K.
So a legitimate 100K.
Yeah.
But that's pretty big. That's like Tushers, right?
Yeah, it's pretty big.
I mean, that's stout.
That's what I want to see.
It'd be technical. It'd be a good test.
And so that would be 20 runners only.
Yeah.
That's it. So top 10, and they get invited, they go, and it's a race.
Yeah.
Just for fun. It's bragging rights. Right?
They could probably drum up some excitement for that.
Yeah.
They could probably do something kind of like UTMB did and try to get a lot of it on camera. Like they did, I don't know what race it was that I watched Killian running before UTMB where they had like the whole thing on camera. They had guys on bikes out and like you could watch the whole race if you wanted to.
Yeah. Well, you'd think they wouldn't be too spread out either,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I mean, of course they would be at some
they'd
level.
They'd be racing kind of like a road marathon where you get the pack and then the chase pack and I mean it'd be. Okay, this is a great idea. You might want to trademark that.
We come up with these ideas and we just let people run with it.
You came up with that. That's a great idea.
So I think it'd be fun.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Like, if you want to be in the top 10 voting and you get in, this is what you do.
Yeah.
And then, so here's the other flip. So Hoka can sponsor it, and they can, instead of a haka dance, you can do a Hoka dance.
Do the Hoka? Or the Hoka
Pokey. The race will be in Pocatello, Idaho.
There we go. Scout Mountain course. You come up with 100K. Luke can run it.
Luke can do it.
Yeah, there we go.
We'll call it the Hoka Pokey. Right? Hoka
100K North American Championship.
That's right.
There we
go.
The
Ultra Runner of the Year Awards.
There we go.
God, we killed it on this show.
That is a great idea.
I'm going to drop my microphone and I'm walking away. You're going to have to finish the rest of this one, Preston. I think I've done my business here.
It's going to get real quiet, folks.
It's awkward silence. We've had that on the show before, awkward silence. Let's see, what else? Another race we can cover. There's a couple. We talked about RUFA. There's a bunch, but I think one I want to talk about is the one that's coming up this weekend because it's one I've wanted to do for years, and I still haven't. Maybe next year, and I say that every year. Pretty soon I'll be too old, and we'll have to have like a wheelchair division. But it's the Black Canyon, and we're saying it because it's a golden ticket race.
Yeah,
so that's
you got to cover it.
That's what it's all about. So the top 2 male, top 2 female in the 100K get a golden ticket. So some names on the women's side. Well, I mean, you look at Casey Lichtig, she's on there. She's just coming off a fast JFK at the end of last year, and she's just tough.
She's getting healthier. It seems like she stayed healthy after she came back last year, stayed healthy most of the year, it appeared. She finished strong, so looks prime for a good race.
You've got Hannah Green. She's won the Bear 100 here a couple years ago. Yao Wang, she's running it. Denise Barasa. So, I mean, there's some solid women. And again,
for
it's
sure.
top 2. So these are races. I like these golden ticket races when people are going for golden tickets because you're going to get fast times.
People are going to go hard.
Yeah, so they're going to blow up. They're going to set course records. They're going to have a PR day. And so I really like those. On the men's side, I think the men's side is super stacked.
Deep.
I'm excited for the men's race. Not to say I'm not for the ladies' race, but I'm going to pick my ladies. I'm going to say it's going to be Hannah Green and Casey Lichtig. I'm going out on the limb on this one.
Hey, I actually like the Hannah Green pick. Mm-hmm. I ran the Bear that same year that she won. Super impressive, but to me, the winner's going to be Yu Wang.
You think so?
Last year, she had a great year over in Europe, running some super hard technical stuff.
The year before she killed it here.
Yeah, the year before she killed it here. I like her, and I'm going to go Yu Wang, and I'm going to go Hannah Green is the two golden ticket winners.
I think Hannah still is just under the radar.
Yeah, and she's kind of more of a mountain girl, but this is anybody. Mountain girls and guys can run too, so it'll be an interesting race. It looks like good conditions so far. I've been seeing some pictures.
And Denise, she came off. She ran hurt this year, and she finished 5th. So it's like, did she recover well enough, and did that set her up to crush this one, even though it's a different course, right?
Yeah.
So different type of race. So, but on the men's side, I mean, there's just so many. I mean, you got Jared Hazen. And here's some names, folks, and this is kind of agent. Got Max King, Dakota Jones. I mean, come on. How cool is that? You throw in Aric Sensman, Chris Mako. I want Mako.
Mako's already got a ticket, right, at Bandera.
Yeah, he got the ticket, but I want to see Mako go for it.
Oh, I'm sure he will. And Mako's the kind of guy that could really mess this race up because he's already got his ticket. And he's got the speed. He's a 224, 223 marathon guy this year. He's run that. He could really push the pace and see if he could crush some of these guys. But the problem is you got Max King sitting there who, in his own right, 214 marathon.
But it's 100K.
Yeah.
Max typically, 50K and under, he kills it.
Yeah.
So
does he have the 100K American record though?
I don't know.
That's just me off the spitballing. I know that I
just like the old school, like the Dakotas and the Maxes. See, I'd look at Dakotas old school still.
It's kind of a sidetrack that's about this race. Did you see? We're going to stir the pot here a little bit. There was a little feud with Dakota and Sensman on the gram.
Oh, really?
On Instagram. Yeah, Dakota Jones on his Instagram said flat out that he's going out there to beat the mustache, to beat the Cowboys. And he didn't make any there was no shortage of words, and Sensman responded with a nice middle finger wave on the post. So it's going to go down. I mean, I guess I'm not stirring the pot if it's out there for everybody to see. Yeah. So it's the real deal. But looking at those names, Dakota, Jared, Max King, those guys are so fast. I don't know. It's going to be a heck of a race, assuming that Jared's healthy too.
Well, I think that's a lot going into it, is the health, the weather, just the time of year that it's going in. Oh, man, I didn't see
It was good. It was classic. And then about halfway down, Sensman responds to it. I meant to have my phone's in my jacket over on the other side.
Here it is. So here's Dakota's Instagram post right here. I just found it. If you're an ultra runner long enough, you got to run Western States at least once. I think maybe this is the year. But to get in, I got to go top 2 at the Black Canyon 100K in Arizona on February 16th, which will be super hard. Can I do it? Well, I've certainly been running a lot of roads lately. Honestly, my primary goal is just to smoke Sensman Graham because he thinks having a mustache is a substitute for training. Oh, my gosh. Here's a picture of me getting my ass kicked at Glencoe Sky last year. Let's hope I can run faster. Holy cow.
Yeah, he was not scared to put it out there. Somebody, I think Tim Tollefson somewhere in there says, obviously Dakota's just running Black Canyon for fun.
Oh my gosh. Jason Slarb commented, "You've totally gone crazy now." But I give him credit. Sensman says, "Hey Dakota, clapping birdie finger." There it is.
Yep.
And then somebody posted, "Who's Dakota?" Oh, that's bad.
That's bad. You got to know who Dakota Jones is.
Yeah, that's what Ferrick said.
Yeah.
I think he's just doing Black Canyon for fun. Wow. This is going to be awesome.
This is going to be good. But, you look at the guys there, and to me, if Hazen's healthy, Hazen's the favorite. And then I got to go Max King, just because I'm a big Max King fan.
I'm still hung up on this Instagram. I'm reading, it's like some Zach Marion, shots fired.
Yeah, you think?
This is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how this works out. But yeah, but it is different. So we've talked about this on the show before in the past. I've been around the ultra running scene for a long time, 15 years. not necessarily. I've never been a good runner, so I'm not going to throw out there that I've done. But I've been around, so I know a lot of the runners personally. I've seen where it's come from that far, and I know it's come from further back. But you do see this trend with social media, and then we did talk about when the Cowboys came busted loose, right?
Yeah.
Super. Like I would never take anything away. Absolutely ridiculously talented. But it's just a different approach than some of the old school runners.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
Like you do look at a Dakota or, other people that just aren't big on social media. They just, they just do it. Carl could be one of those people. He likes to stir the pot once in a while.
For sure he does. But
it's just a difference. Like, I don't say it's a changing of the guard at all. I'm not saying the run-wise, but just a different style anymore.
Yeah,
with running.
I think the shift that I've observed in watching just videos from back in the day is guys aren't afraid to say, I want to win.
Yeah.
Now. And, before it was just like, hey, let's go have a good run.
Sandbag.
They were sandbaggers, and that's fine. That's their style. But that's why Jim Walmsley rubs people the wrong way.
Yeah.
Because he wants to win, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Not at
when
all.
you put in the work, and that's your job. I mean, a lot of these guys, that list of names, that's most of them. That's their job is to run.
That's what they're getting paid.
And so to say you're going to win, I mean, you ought to expect to win. Just like we talk about our experience with team sports, we expected to win. That's just how it was, and obviously in ultra running, you and I don't expect to win. Ever.
Yeah. No, it is.
But
it's a different
these
mindset.
But these guys are in it to win.
And I think just with the shift with social media, with sponsorships, there's more pressure that way as well. I don't know. I've heard nothing but good things about the Cowboys. I've never met them personally, which I'm hoping to for sure. But I do also. I'm one of those guys that early on too, when the Europeans were coming, the Euros, as everybody said, came over to start doing things. I was involved with a trail running team, managed a team, and so it's the year Killian came over and something new happened at Western. He had his camera crew. It got this big buzz. A guy didn't carry water bottles. So everybody's like, "What's going on over here?"
Well, that was a mistake.
Yeah, he learned that.
He did learn.
And I've told this story before, and I'll be the first one to admit it. I didn't want to like Killian.
Yeah,
because at the time I was like the Pearl team manager, so I was all Pearl Azumi runners, and then we have him coming over and doing what he's like. Oh man, this guy, what's he doing? What's he thinking?
Let's get Solomon out of here.
Yeah. And the funny thing is I met his crew first because it was the year it had like Nick Clark, and we had a bunch of our fast Pearl runners at the front.
Yeah.
And that's where Killian was. So my crew for Pearl hung out with the Solomon guys, and the Solomon guys were not very nice people.
Okay.
They were from
serious,
Europe.
Yeah.
They were serious. We tried to do small talk. They weren't in it, and then they started talking French to each other. And we're like, all right, what he's saying. Yeah. They just weren't as friendly, right? And so it's like rubbed me the wrong way. So it's like, okay, this Killian guy, I met him at 2 aid stations just on accident, really.
Yeah.
He was there, I was there, and he started saying something to me, right? But it was super nice, and I'm looking at him like, gosh, dang it. And then after the race, I met him like, all right, dude, you're like
salt
legit.
the earth kind of guy.
Super nice
just
guy.
Super good guy.
But again, I think with the social media stuff, it just that's interesting. I'm glad you showed me that.
Yeah,
with Dakota.
no, it's to me it was a highlight of the week on social media.
And I think maybe it's just the clash of those styles. You know? I think is more what it is.
And
not
I know
that
anything's right or wrong, right? But if you're going to bring it, you better bring it.
Well,
right?
I mean, you throw it down like Dakota has done now.
And Senseman wrote an article that I read. I don't know where it was. He was like a guest author. And he said that he's in it to win it too.
Yeah.
Like he's running Black Canyon to win. And so
I think if you have to go,
like we were saying, you got to go into it with that mentality.
Especially when there's a ticket on the line, regardless if you're in or not. I think at that level, I think it's different. It's not saying they don't run to have a good time, but they're there for a reason. Whether it's training thing and I need to go this time or whatever. But when you're like Zach said, shots fired.
Yeah.
Dakota threw it out there.
For sure.
So now the pressure kind of falls on him a little bit too. So
for sure.
it'll be interesting.
It'll be a great watch on
sure.
Twitter.
I can't. That excites me.
Because
I don't have a horse in the game. You know? So I'm like, this excites me.
Yeah.
All right. So we got any more races?
Kind of.
Okay.
Right. So something that was huge on social media, I got to give this guy a shout out because another good guy in the sport. But if anybody followed what Wardian did over the last, I guess it's been 4 days or so now, 3 days since he finished. But he was part of the World Marathon Challenge, which was 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days, and he won every race. His average time was under 3 hours, average. He had one or two that were over 3 hours. I think one was in Chile because it was super hot. And one
chili?
it was not chili. It was like chili pepper hot. And then the other one was in Antarctica where maybe it was cold. I don't know.
Jumped into Tauntaun midway.
And so those were two of the slower ones. And then after he finished that, he went home and did 3 more marathons in 3 consecutive days, all under 3 hours. His last one on the 10th day in a row was the fastest. I think he ran like 2:40. And this is 2 weeks. He started this 2 weeks after running Hurt and finishing in the top 10 at Hurt.
Yeah.
And just a nice guy out there at Hurt, always saying hello. I think he got a kick out of my purple Jazz hat. He's, just a nice guy. And I mean, think how tough that is to go 10 straight marathons and your average for the 10 straight be under 3 hours. I mean, that is incredibly huge. And it's inspiring. I can't believe that he was able to do it. Well, I can because he works hard. But
well, that's the thing. If you watch on like even Facebook, he'll post some of his workouts.
Oh, yeah.
And he's really in tune with his body.
He is.
Recovery, getting it ready for the next one. Because, I mean, it's kind of, again, you can't compare runners anymore. It's everybody's different. It's Killian-esque in what he does and his way he does
his
things,
regimen.
right? Because it's almost like he got stronger as it went by. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's like, it makes me nervous for them too, right?
Yeah.
And like they know who they are, but it's like, what's your breaking point? Like breaking, not like slow down point, but like when you gonna break?
I think his secret was after every race he did a Fortnite dance because his sons told him that he had to. So he did some terrible dancing. He's a much better runner than he is a dancer. But I think that's the key to his success was the Fortnite dances.
I'm gonna have to figure out what Fortnite is.
It's some game that the kids play on the X Play or something, whatever it's called.
Yeah, because
the play box.
When I was up in Bellingham last year, I stayed with Jeff Hart. Graciously let me stay with them, and his son had Fortnite, and so I was asking him, I'm like, "What's Fortnite?" And he says, "Dad, can I show him?" And Jeff's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I want," and I watched him play for like an hour.
Did you?
And I'm like,
just going around killing people.
And I'm watching it go. I'm like, I just don't get it.
Yeah,
I guess right. Like I understand Pac-Man.
Yeah,
right. But I was watching it. It's like, yeah, you chop this down, then you build this, and you shoot this guy, and you drop, and you go to this island. And there's 100 people, and I'm like. And everything happens so fast, my hands don't work that fast.
Hey, but if you want to play Mario Kart, I'm all game.
See, that's
with Mario
even
Kart.
Like you walked in and said, "You got an Atari?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, man, I got Pac-Man, Asteroids, Pitfall, Frogger. I kill those games
all day.
One button,
hey,
joystick."
As soon as I've got to have strategy, come on.
Yeah, I'm
like, whoa.
As soon as they introduced like 3 buttons, I was done. I couldn't remember A. What do you mean A? Hit A. Oh my gosh, Yeah, I'm out. So
yeah.
But yeah, that was super neat. What Wardian, he's always, I don't know. I love people like that, like Killian, that just do different things, pushing themselves, but in a healthy way.
Yeah.
It's not, people are, I don't know, do it the right way.
With a good vibe.
Yeah.
We're talking about the competitive side, and then you look at what these guys do, and they compete at a super high level, but they're just super mellow guys.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
It is.
So let's talk about a few other things. So first I asked people on the last one about a rating system for the gear reviews because I've got some gear lined up. I'm looking to start this in March, is doing our new gear reviews on YouTube. I've got some gear lined up, ready to go. Got some shipping to me on order. Again, I'm paying for all this stuff. I'm not being sponsored, so it's really, what's the word I'm looking for? Non-biased. So I need a rating system.
Okay.
And some people, I've got a few people that messaged me, and they're killing it.
Okay.
Emily, I'm going to say, Emily, I know you listen to the show because you emailed me or you messaged me, but you need a marketing job. She's got it dialed in.
Okay.
She had these great ideas, and I'm not going to spill them yet because it's going to be an unveil. I'm not saying whose I'm using because I'm still thinking about it, but Logan had a few, so I'm still working on that. So if you have some rating styles that aren't stars, I mean, we've had people say do cheese curds, right?
Okay.
Which is good. There's been like distance in running, like this is a 100-mile. So I'm just thinking of ranking, like mentally it's like a 5-star thing. Mm-hmm. Okay. What can that be? So I'm still working on that. But thanks for people that are sending that way. I like the approach that everybody's given me for that. Next up, let's talk a little bit. Let's not kill it today. Speaking of Turtle, though, as I mentioned last week, he's our new sponsor for the Woody Footies, which hats are on order. I'm working on finalizing the logo for that so we can make those super cool. Preston was the guest host today, so I let him pick the Woody Footy winner.
There was a lot of pressure.
It was. He didn't know till he showed up.
The guest host.
I said, here's the laptop. You are the guest host. You pick Woody Footy. So he picked Quintin Barney, running in Littlefield, Arizona. So we'll be using that post, that picture for the post this week.
Looked warm.
It did look
nice.
warm. There wasn't snow in it.
There wasn't 6 inches of slush.
Yeah, which is always nice.
Yep.
Then we'll jump over quickly to Strava because we do have a couple Ask TrailManners questions. On Strava, topping the distance, the run time, and the vert was Trevor Medding, 202 miles distance. Run time was 65 hours, 32 minutes, and climbing was 45,000
wow.
feet. Looks like he ran the Franklin 200 down in
Texas.
And Preston, you were second on climbing.
Whoa.
26,709.
Yeah.
So good week to be on the show.
Heck yeah. I planned it that way.
That's how you dialed it in. All right, so let's go with, again, throwing it out there again. We're going to put some articles up still, so if anybody has some ideas for those, let me know. We're looking for some ideas and some guests, writers on that. And now we'll jump right into Woody, I already did that. Let's do Ask TrailManners. So we have 2 questions. The first one, Ask TrailManners, I'm in need of some good mantras. 48 hours. So he's running a 48-hour race in loop, and I'm going to probably need more than one. And this is from Dave Loopy Stevenson, listener from the show. He's doing a 48-hour event. He's asked us questions in the past, so he needs some good mantras. So post for sure some good mantras because I'm all about it. And I'll give you some of mine that I do. Obviously, now go get it is one that I always have in my head. And I think it's good. Like he wants more than one, which I think can be. I think you should have like your go-to.
Yeah.
And then some ones that you can just pull out of your hat.
Yep.
I've got Take Chances, which is one of the first ones I ever heard running by my friend Brian Fisher in Colorado. Before a big race, he said, "Don't forget, take chances," and I've always loved that one.
That's a great one,
and so that's one I've kept in my quiver for 12 years, easy. You Got This, which can also be an I've Got This, and I always like to say it's the celebration. The race is the celebration of all the training you've done, the early morning hours, the weights, the massage, the injuries, being away from your friends and family. So I said this is the celebration to try and get my head in that happy mode. Just get it done. That's kind of sometimes at the end of the race, just get it done. Sometimes you just don't want to walk. I just think to myself, okay, miles a mile, if I walk or I run, which is faster, so I try and get that run in when I can.
No, for sure.
Another one that I've really embraced lately is I choose the ending today. So just think in your head, you get to choose how your day ends. Like that's your choice. No one else can do that for you, so it's kind of like your goal. You get to choose what ending you have. Sometimes I say something out super loud too, like just to get me pumped, especially when no one's around. Like if Phil Lowry's around, I don't because I don't want to make him mad at me.
Just shine your light in his eyes.
Shine his light. Or rub some deodorant on. No, but sometimes I'll say something really loud just to kind of get my, like, especially when it's dark and I'm getting tired, just kind of wake myself up, give me that little push. And then another one I do, I know a lot of people do, and you can find your own words for this, but I always start something with I am. Just to kind of in your head, like, I am strong, I am fast, I am tough, I'm going to finish, I am the answer to the problem, whatever it might be. That's the other ones I like to use. So if you have some good ones, I love hearing them because everybody's creative, but I think those are I think take chances, now go get it, and I choose the ending today. I think those are my go-tos. What do you
So the one I've been using lately, because the last 2 races I've done have been grinder kind of races, so I tend to get in a hurry. And, like Dave, I follow him on Strava, or not on Strava, on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I see his posts, and, it's going to be a long time. 48 hours is a long time. So I always just try to think, just settle in. When things were getting hard at RUFA, it was just settle in. Just settle into a rhythm that's comfortable. And, when things get hard, just settle in and it'll get better. Yep. When things are, you just want to settle into something that seems attainable. So that's been my big one lately, and it hurt and didn't work out too great there. But when I was not sick, it did work. Just settle in, be comfortable, and things will get better. So
I like that one. It's another good one. So yeah, if you have any out there, love to hear them. Post it on our Facebook post for the episode. And that was from our good friend Dave. Dave, good luck. We know you're going to kill it because that's just the way.
Down at Jackpot that he's doing that?
And he puts so much work in.
Yeah,
it's your celebration for sure.
For sure. And you'll get it done.
Yeah, you'll get your 100 miles. All right, next one is from, here's the second and last Ask TrailManners. TrailManners has pushed me over the edge. Listen to the podcast for too long, and I am making questionable decisions. First of all, that makes me super happy.
Good decisions.
Now I signed up for my first 50-mile and need some help with drop bags. What is the best type of bag to use, and what should I have in them? Thanks, and wish me luck. This is from Darcy in Pennsylvania.
Awesome.
So, Darcy, through trial and error in my early years, and this is what I do. Again, this is Ask TrailManners, not ask what's the best decisions.
Yeah.
This is what I use dry bags. First few races I used drop bags. I just used like normal, like almost like cinch sack type bags.
Yeah.
And one race got really rainy and they didn't have them under anything. So I went to put my dry shirt on, and it was a lot wetter than the shirt I had on because everything was soaked.
Yeah.
And I had an extra pair of socks in there that were soaked. So I used dry bags just like you're going kayaking. They're a great size. They hold tape well when you label them. I have the same ones I've used for probably 8 years now. So I use dry bags, different sizes depending on what I'm going to put in them and where I'm going to put them. But that's the ones I always go with. And I always try and put colored, like if I have a yellow drop bag, I'll put orange tape on it so it's really recognizable.
Yeah.
I know some people will put like string around it, but if you can recognize it, most of the time aid stations there to help you and they're organized, but I've absolutely been to them where it hasn't been. You're kind of looking over, and if you have a black bag with gray tape, you're in trouble.
Yeah, definitely.
So I always try and make mine stand out. So I usually do like a yellow dry bag with orange tape on it with my name and everything else. So what do you use for drop bags?
So depends on what I'm doing at the race, right? Yeah. So if I'm going to have crew, or I don't think I'm going to need change of clothes, like, Squaw Peak last year was 80 degrees and perfect. I knew I wasn't going to need new clothes. It wasn't going to rain. So I did just Ziploc bags, like the gallon Ziploc baggies, and with the real like zipper tops so they stay shut because they're waterproof. And so I just put nutrition in there. That's the kinds of things that I put in for a 50-miler where I'm trying to go a little bit more quickly. I pre-mix my whatever electrolyte drink I'm going to have so it's ready to go. Saves me some time. It's nerdy, but that's what I do.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've used there. If I'm not going to have crew and I need to pack more clothes, something that I found really helpful is totes, like plastic totes. Like it hurt. We went to Costco and bought 3 totes and then returned them after the race.
So that's you.
Yeah, because I wasn't going to get them on the plane, and I was, so that's
just don't get them dirty.
Hey, we didn't get them dirty, but yeah. So those, I've used totes in the past because they're waterproof, and you can fit a little bit more into them, and they are easy to pick out because people usually have just the black drawstring bags. So those are the 2 things I've used, and they both worked fine. So, if you want to go simple and cheap, maybe not the best for the environment, but just Ziploc bags is what I've used.
And so what I do with my dry bags is I put Ziploc bags in them. So like one will have my nutrition in Ziploc inside, one will have like maybe socks or whatever, one will have my squirrel's nut butter or whatever. And so I have them so when I pull it out, I know what bag's which.
Yeah.
And the good thing about Ziplocs, you can always use them. Like I have some in my closet I've had for 2 years, but they still work.
Yeah.
And they're perfect size. So that's what I do is just to keep everything separated. And so I think that's that. And then as far as what you put in them, Darcy, what I've learned too is you got to mix it up. So if you know this is like a go-to gel for you or whatever your nutrition is, do some other stuff because when you get to your aid station, you get to your drop bag, sometimes you're not in the mood for the same thing, and so you want something different. So I try and mix it up a little bit. Depending on the race, some races don't let you have too big a drop bags either. It's like size things or where they're at. So I usually will throw more than I know I'm going to need in a drop bag because you don't have to take it with you. You can just leave it there. So I put more nutrition in than I know I'm going to need, but I really mix up the variety and flavors just because you never know what you're going to want and feel like. And I do it on all my drop bags. So when I collect my drop bags when I get home, I usually have tons of stuff to put away, but I always overdo that. I'm not a shoe and sock change guy.
Yeah.
I was early on, and I didn't really see a huge benefit for the way my feet handle it, so I've never really done shoe and sock changes.
Yeah.
And I've always been the same shoe guy, so I know some people would say, I ran it the first 80 miles in this, and I threw on this shoe because it's more of a cushion for the end of it. And I know people do that. So a lot of it's just whatever you're used to using and used to doing. Again, I don't know what race you're doing, but if it's coming up soon, too, in the spring, clothing is something always nice to have, in drop bags, whether it's an extra shirt, an extra jacket, an extra gloves, whatever it might be, just in case. And you don't have to use everything, and you can just make sure you pick it up at the end. So as far as what you put in them, I would say go more nutrition than you need and apparel. Know what your weather is going to look like. And the great thing, too, is you can put stuff in your bags that you had on. So if you start with a jacket and headlamp, just throw it in your first drop bag.
So you don't lose it. Yep.
Yeah, and don't carry too much. That's always the big mistake, is carrying too much stuff with you. So I think for me, type of bags we talked about, and then what should you put in them, I think that's personal preference, but just put more in than you know you're going to use. If you say, okay, between this stretch and this stretch, I'll use 3 gels, put 7 in there. Yeah. And different variety, because you pull in like, oh, that one sounds super good.
Exactly. And I echo exactly what you just said, Aric. I mean, just stuff that you're going to like, but maybe some stuff that you don't use every day, just to change it up is a great idea. And you know what you like to eat, right? I mean, that's not a nutrition advice question. It was a drop bag question. And I mean, but you got to have enough nutrition to get you from aid station to aid station. Always have more, and just, clothing, whatever it's all optional. I'm not a shoe change guy. Yeah. I was at Hurt though, because it was terribly muddy and I had to change shoes. Yeah. But that's the only time I've ever done it. So you're just being prepared.
Yep. And I always just think that, look into it before you go in. And I think the last thing to absolutely remember, grab your drop bags after the race is over.
Yes.
Because sometimes you
don't want to be going to John Bozung's house to get your headlamp because you forgot your drop bag that you put your headlamp in.
And if you use stuff that you don't want back, maybe that's different, but I want my dry bag back.
Yeah.
And I usually got all kinds of fun stuff in there.
Yeah, for sure.
And sometimes, you just throw some stuff from the aid station into your drop bag and take it home with you.
Oh, hey. I've never done that.
Take a handful of Swedish fish so you have them Sunday after the race.
I wanted to try some of those Spring Energy gels.
I'll grab 7 of those. That's what I paid for.
25 goo Roctanes.
I need that whole box, bro. So I hope that helps. So, Dave, good luck and thank you. And Darcy, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. And you can thank us on how well you do, just because we pushed you over that edge. I think that's really it. I just want a couple shout-outs. We increased our Patreon users to 19,
yeah.
So Woo. 2 from last week. 3 really, but Shar and Matt, that counts as 1 because they're together. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you guys again. Carly Flandro, she was another one that jumped on, so we got 2 this week. So we're up to 19. Our goal is 50.
Almost halfway there.
Getting close, but we have different goal sets, but 50 would just be absolutely bonkers. But thank you so much for everybody that supported us, the TrailManners podcast, and what we're going to be doing forward with the Patreon account. If you're interested in doing that, it's patreon.com/TrailManners. And seriously, I know this gets said all the time, but literally every dollar helps. So if it's $2 a month, that is fantastic and absolutely much appreciated. So thank you for everybody that's done that. And I'll say a special thanks to Preston. This is the first time we've done this. I appreciate you coming on. It takes a lot of pressure off me.
Thanks.
Helps our listeners mix it up a little bit. So thanks for taking the time to come and do this single track session with us.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity. Hopefully everybody liked it.
Yeah, we'll have to do a poll.
Yeah, do a straw poll.
Should we invite him back again someday?
Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Yeah, a thumbs up or a like. A smiley face is this, and this is a heart is we love it. But no, seriously, thanks for coming on the show. And to you too, Preston, thanks for the support you've always given the TrailManners podcast in all the ways too. You're also a Patreon supporter, so we thank you for that. And again, folks, when I say we, I mean all of you as well, because I still am not going to say I anymore at all. That's too hard for me. So it's still we with the TrailManners. So thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed the single track session. Hope to have a show for you on Tuesday. Sorry you missed this last Tuesday. Had some personal things with the house and a few other things we don't need to get into. But we will be back. Have some great guests lined up, and we're getting booked out through the spring, which is super nice. So Preston, thank you. Thanks for listening to Single Track Session 126. This is Aric and Preston, and we are out.